They see me rolling, they hating.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Thanks for hanging in there with us. To get in on the discussion tonight, hit us up 804-447-0601, 804-447-0601. Starting the Socially Conscious Entertainment Hour, just about 8 minutes late, but that's cool. We appreciate everybody that's been listening to us for the duration of the show. We're going to go ahead and profile a missing and or exploited child as we do here every single week on Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. Zakiya Copeland Taylor is an endangered runaway whose date of birth is January 14th, 1999. She has been missing since March 25th, 2012. She's 13 years old, missing from the Bronx, New York. She's a black female, stands 5 foot 410 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She is indeed a runaway, last seen in the Bronx, and she may potentially still be in the area. I'll definitely make sure that we put her picture up on the Facebook wall, on the fan page, and all our personal pages. If you guys have seen Zakiya Copeland Taylor, please contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or hit them on their Facebook, or on their website, missingkids.com, or contact them by phone at 1-800-THE-LOST, 1-800-843-5678. In this next segment, we are going to kind of move on and take a different turn. We're going to be talking about the police and their relationship with the community at large. On the live line with us tonight, we have a member of the New York Police Department. Lady D is joining us tonight. Lady D, how you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for joining us on Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. You got DJ Renee, Big Rube, Carlton Banks, and yours truly here in the studio. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Real quick, just to kind of set up, who we're speaking with. You work for the NYPD, is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, just to kind of set up for the listeners, you're a member of the NYPD, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and about how long have you been NYPD?
About 5 years.
About 5 years, okay. So you've been around long enough to kind of see a lot of things, and one of the main things that we definitely wanted to talk a little bit about was the stop and frisk thing. We know stop and frisk is something that is somewhat prevalent in the New York area. We don't have it here in Virginia, but some of us feel like we do have it, just kind of in an indirect kind of way. Why don't you share with the listeners what exactly your definition or the definition at NYPD stop or frisk, and then we'll kind of round table from there.
The basic stop, suppression, and frisk is pretty much a windows open policy, open windows, try to prevent crime prior to them occurring. So if we see someone that we think may be carrying a weapon, or that we know from prior experiences that they're known to carry weapons, we usually stop them, question them. After a certain amount of questions, it may escalate into us actually frisking them, may lead us to arrest, may not. I think that's a big problem with a lot of people in New York, or the politics. The politicians, they're having problems with us not arresting these people that they just can't stop and not arrested.
What do you say if you have proponents, which I am? I'm a proponent of it. What do you say to those of us who are against stop and frisk, who feel that the large majority of the people who are being stopped are black people and Latino people?
It really depends on where you work. I mean, I work in a black community, I can't stop and frisk white people because I don't work around white people. I work around mainly Latinos and blacks.
Okay.
The number of crimes being committed in New York are by Latinos and blacks. Black on black crimes, Latinos in these crimes. You're not hearing about Hasidic Jews shooting other Hasidic Jews. You're not hearing about Hasidic Jews bother people. It's happening in our own community, in our own backyard. A lot of times, I stop someone and tell me, "Oh, you're only stopping me because I'm black." Well, I'm black too. It's not because you're black. It's because the high level of crime within that community.
What about the phrase black on black crime? Because I somewhat have an issue with the phrase black on black crime. It suggests that black people only have crime with other black people, as if to say white people don't have crime with white people. But we specifically use the phrase black on black crime. I'm picking on you because you said that, but that was definitely a point that I wanted to use. I mean, you would probably be a better person to kind of share statistics. If you have them, great. If you don't, that's fine as well. But just kind of observing generally, would you agree that people rob where they are, or do people travel outside of their neighborhoods to rob people?
I would say they more, from my experience, they rob where they are.
Okay.
You know, we do have Caucasians coming into our neighborhoods, but they're coming into our neighborhoods to buy drugs. They're not coming in our neighborhoods to rob other people of color. You know, from my experience, mainly when we stop and arrest Caucasians, it's because they're buying drugs in our neighborhood. But a lot of this crime is black on black. You know, I mean,
I guess my issue is,
you're not here. Long Island, you hear about white people, but mostly a mob, if anything.
right.
But if you hear about crime over there, it's drug related. It's not like people are carrying guns or, going into their neighborhoods or their backyards and robbing each other. No.
But do we specifically use the phrase white on white crime when white folk are robbing white folk? I guess what my issue is, why do we single out the black community by making it seem like they're the only ones that are committing crimes against their own, when we know, just from like we just discussed, that people, robbing folks is a crime of convenience. So if you live in Bensonhurst and you got the notion to rob somebody, you're going to probably rob somebody in Bensonhurst. If you're in Harlem and you got a notion to rob somebody, you're going to probably rob somebody that's in Harlem.
But you got to look at the numbers, Mark. I mean, you got to look at the numbers, and the number of white people robbing white people are what, 5%? I mean, the numbers are higher within our own community. We're doing it to each other. So we're not going in white neighborhoods and robbing white people or shooting white people. We're shooting our own.
We're not, but they doing it to themselves. That's my point. I mean, we're singled out is what the perception is that it's just the black folk. And then there are numbers. There are numbers that show that the large majority of the people that are stopped and frisked are black and Latino. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. Yes, totally.
So
again, the number of the amount of crime and the percentage of crime is happening in Brooklyn, in Queens. It's the numbers in Manhattan is less than what's happening, what's going on in Brooklyn.
So one question I have for you is, are you guys trained or taught per se to specifically, look for the minority people, in terms of those crimes?
Not at all. It's the old saying. It's not where you're from, it's where you're at.
Okay,
and
so
I work in.
So if you were in the middle of the Bronx, okay, and let's say 185th Street, and you saw a Caucasian person committing a crime, you would stop and frisk that person.
Of course, not a doubt. And if you're white and you're in a black neighborhood, that goes up a red flag right there. Like, what are you doing here? What's going on? Where you from?
Well, I can tell you right now. 9 times out of 10, they're there to buy drugs. I can tell you. I can tell you right now that I am from Jersey City as Marcus, and on the block that I grew up on, especially since that light rail is there now, white people get off that light rail all day long and walk up to the block and buy drugs. And the cops sit right on the corner and they watch them. They make their sale, they go down the street. The only time I've ever witnessed any white people getting arrested is if they happen to be running a sting operation that day. But on the norm, it happens. Now, I see the cops frisking black people all the time, but I hardly ever see that. And I'm specifically talking about Jersey City. So I guess my question is, as an officer, do you feel that certain groups are singled out more than others?
Is there racism in the NYPD? Of course there is. I would never dispute that or say that. Are there racist cops? Yes, there are. In any state, any city, you name it. But for me as a black officer, I don't look at color. I look at the crime.
But
that the purpose of being in that neighborhood in that particular day at that particular time, you know.
But think about something. You're
area or constitution home area. You know, that's what I'm looking at.
Being a person that's from, you know, from the inner city and working in the inner city now, you know, you're looking at the crime as you're saying. However, many of your peers that come from the outskirts and those affluent neighborhoods are not. So where you may see something and may not think, you know, to stop and frisk that person because it might be something innocent, that person may jump the gun and say, you know, stop and frisk or arrest the person that's not doing anything wrong, but because that person may not be dressed well, they may not have the means to dress well, so they might look a little shady.
They may be dressed like Trayvon Martin.
Correct, exactly.
Right, which I also dress like Trayvon Martin, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a stereotype. It's definitely those coming from the outer boroughs, the Long Island, who they can't relate to the inner city youth or the inner city people. You know, yeah, that definitely goes on. I'm definitely, I see it. I see it on the regular. But as far as Jersey City, which I'm familiar with Jersey City as well, I would have to say, you know, there's a lot of liberals, you know, and for you to stop a white person who may be, quote unquote, liberal, you know, she's going to have a lot of more heat than to stop someone of color who was just used to that. That's just an everyday thing for them.
But why should we be used to it? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
we shouldn't be used to that. You know, I grew up on that block.
We don't do anything about it, right? We don't do anything about it unless you think the Al Sharptons or the other politicians involved in it. You know, once a black person is shot, you know, but every day it goes on in our neighborhood, and the main reason I see is because of high level of crime.
This is Big Roo. I have a question. Has there been any type of positive remarks from the locations that this happens? I mean, has the city turned around and say, "Oh, this is a great thing," or you know, that sort of thing? This has helped our
you know what?
Our little area.
I don't know if you guys are following the news up here in New York. I don't know if you guys realize that within the last week there's been two or three infants or children shot in drive-by shootings.
Yeah, the little kid at the basketball court.
Those parents are now on the news saying they support Stop Pushing and Frisk because, no, I mean, I want to use this scenario. It's like bobbing for apples. You know, when we were kids, we bobbed for apples. And your parents might put $50 bill in one apple and quarters in the rest. Are you going to stop bobbing for those apples after you get that first quarter? You're going to keep bobbing. You're going to keep bobbing to get that $50 bill. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's a good, fair analogy. I understand that.
It's the same thing on the street. We're going to keep stopping people until we get that guy that got that gun.
All right, well, let me ask you. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Anybody that knows me, and you know, we're not clowning here. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say to kind of make this point. I'm a small man who looks a lot younger than I actually am, and if I chose to dress a certain kind of way, yeah, it is. If I chose to dress a certain kind of way, I could probably take my 38 years down, probably into my late teens, early 20s, if I chose to do that. So my question to you is, and let's say I'm dressed down, I'm off work, I happen to choose to be dressed a certain kind of way, and I got the hoodie on, it's raining or whatever, and I'm walking down the street, and somebody stops me and frisks me. Is that all right with you? You personally? You knowing me. Is that all right with you that I get stopped? I'm somebody that goes to work every day. I raise my daughter. I take care of my house. I pay my taxes. And I just happen to be walking to the store. But I look a certain kind of way. Is it all right with you that I get stopped?
No, it's not. Not if it's based on the way you look, no.
But that's what stop and frisk. That's what but isn't that really what it is, though? Isn't that really what it is? Isn't stop and frisk based in some part on racially profiling the people who are being stopped, whether it be based on their neighborhood or based on how they look, because I don't see anybody stopping and frisking me if I'm wearing my shirt and tie, and I could be dirty.
But that's not true, Mark. That's not true, because there are people that's not dressed in hoodies and Timbs and thug wear that are stopped at first.
So basically,
it's more to it. You can't just stop a person and say, "Hey, I'm gonna frisk you right now, okay? Do you mind?" No. We ask several questions. If you bring that level of suspicion up, then it goes to the next level.
Well, yeah.
But there is
you don't stop anybody the way they look or the way they dress.
Well, I mean that may be what y'all are taught, but real talk, I don't think anybody actually believes that that's the way it goes down for real.
I think there's a certain level of paranoia with police.
I wouldn't say it goes down like that all the time. No, not at all.
Say it again, Renee. That was a good point.
I was saying that there's a certain level. If Marcus was dressed in a 3-piece suit, shirt and tie, okay, and as a black man in this country, after Abner Louima and Trayvon Martin and a series of events that happened, if a cop were to approach him dressed in this suit, there's a certain level of paranoia that already becomes raised automatically, just based on the climate of this country and the things that are going on in this country. Okay? So you, as an officer, you approach him and say, "Sir, can I frisk you?" And he gets paranoid and gets edgy, and then he gets a little defensive. So now you get defensive because you think he's trying to hide something. Now, that's the climate of the country, and that's off of what you're taught to do or what you're asked to do as an officer. And it creates tension on both parts. It creates tension on your part as the officer, and then it also leaves him on edge.
You know what? If I see Mark in a drug-prone neighborhood in a 3-piece suit walking down the street, I'm going to stop him. I'm going to talk to him.
Why?
What is this business over here? Where do you live? Oh, you live on Long Island, really?
But see, that's the point, though. That ultimately, to me, is the essence of this entire discussion. Because I'm dressed a certain kind of way, I get picked on, whether it be I'm in the hood with a 3-piece suit or I'm in a hood in a hoodie. Why bother with?
Whether you're black or whether you're white, it doesn't matter.
Well, that I don't agree with.
It's almost like it's almost like a legal form of bullying. You're going. Say you were walking down, a really condemned street. You were going to visit an aunt or a grandmother or somebody, and you happen to be dressed up because it was Sunday dinner, and you taking grandma some flowers and a cake. But because he's walking down the block in a 3-piece suit trying to represent himself well, and he doesn't look like he belongs in that neighborhood, now they're going to stop and frisk him because he must be there to either buy dope or, do something he has no business doing.
He may be stopped. He doesn't have to necessarily be frisked.
But the point is, why?
Some people are stopped and not frisked.
But see, I guess that's what my point is. Why even bother with me? You know what I mean? Like I'm clean, and I have to be inconvenienced because of some guy who might be doing something. He might be doing something. Not he is doing something. He might be doing something. So now, in the example that Renee just gave,
have a conversation.
What's that now?
Why can't I just stop you? Why can't I just stop you and have a conversation?
Maybe I'm not interested in talking to you.
I don't have to be inconvenienced.
But once you stop him to have, once you stop him to have that conversation, he's already defensive because he's walking down the street minding his business.
He's already defensive.
Exactly.
Because he's being stopped for no reason.
Yeah, I'm being stopped by the police when I don't have no reason to be. And I'm going about my business. And as she stated a minute ago, black men, generally already have issues with the police because of the way things go. Things.
That's absolutely correct.
Right.
And that's why I try to change that. You know my personality. I like to talk.
Right.
I like people.
But I guess when
when I'm stopping you, I'm not. If I'm stopping you, some guys are like, "Oh, well, they think I'm snitching." They don't want to talk to me because of the snitching code.
Well, that's not even that wouldn't even be me. That wouldn't even be me.
I'm still me. Out of this uniform, I'm me.
I'm not talking to you.
Talk to you and just pick the breed.
In that analogy, I'm not talking to you because I ain't got time and I don't want to talk to you. So when you walk up on me, you wasting my time. That's kind of, that's the way I'm looking at it. You wasting my time coming up to me. And now all of a sudden, I got to show you a level of respect because of your uniform, but clearly I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that we even having this conversation, and I'm probably giving you a little bit of attitude because I'm annoyed because you wasting my time. And now you feeling some kind of way because I gave you a little bit of attitude because you stopped me because now I'm annoyed. And next thing you know, I got my hands tied behind my back while your boys come and start frisking me. That's the scenario that I have an issue with, that I want to see prevented, that I'm looking for someone to acknowledge. Big Rube, hold up, that.
I think the situation is, I'm gonna go on record saying, I don't necessarily agree with the stop and frisk thing. I understand why it's there, but I don't necessarily agree with it. However, it's all about perception and reality. Unfortunately, you go about your business, and you probably do it the right way. Unfortunately, there's probably 5 other dudes on the force who don't do it the way you do it. So perception gets out there. Oh, all the cops just want to get young black man, blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, that's not fair to you. But this is the perception that unfortunately has to be dealt with because of a couple of people who overextend their bounds. Now, I have a sibling who is in law enforcement, so I understand how you feel and stuff like that, and because he feels pretty much the same way. However, once again, the perception kicks in, and all cops are bad, blah blah blah. All cops want to do is stop me from doing my business. And for the 1 or 2 cops that are doing it the right way, you probably have a couple other policemen not doing it the right way, and that's what you hear because you hear all the bad press. You never hear the good press. And the problem is, you're fighting a battle where Marcus believes that's not right. I don't particularly believe it's right, but I understand why it happens and why it's necessary. However, something will happen and he'll walk out of here, he'll walk down the street, and for no reason or another, he'll get stopped at frisk, and then the perception for him has just gotten worse because he has nothing. He had nothing. He was doing nothing, but he was in his time was taken away, and at that point in time, he feels like a criminal, and he feels he shouldn't feel that way.
Before I became a cop, and as a cop, I get stopped still. I get stopped because of my tinted windows, and they assume that there's somebody in there with a gun or drugs or whatever it may be. But it's just I gotta take it with a grain of salt. I can't get upset about it or go complaining to this one and that one about it because it's just they did a job. I'm not supposed to have tinted windows, but I do for my own protection, for my own security. But I always tell young brothers on the street that I stop and I have a chance to talk to. If we're going to change it, you guys got to become a part of the department. You got to become part of the department, become chiefs, become commissioners, whatever it may be. It's a lot of black people who don't want to be cops because they don't like cops. But how are we supposed to change it if we're not in it?
I'm going to jump in here and say something. A year ago, I bought a brand new car, and I was in Newark, and I was over by Rutgers off of Martin Luther King and Warren Street, and I got pulled over. It was 29 degrees outside that day. The cop pulled me over, and he said I ate a red light. And I didn't eat the red light because there was 4 cars in front of me. And when he pulled me over, he came to the window. So what's the problem, officer? I'm speaking to him with respect. He says, roll all your effing windows down. I said, excuse me? Wow. He said, you heard me. I said, all right, no problem. I roll all the windows down. He proceeds to stick his head completely in my car. He says, what are you doing? And I said, I'm on my way to work. I show him my work ID. I worked for one of the largest preschool agencies in the city of Newark at the time. And I said, I'm on my way to work. I'm on my way to a meeting. What's the problem? He said, well, I pulled you over. Let me run your information. Comes back. He couldn't cite me for anything else because all my paperwork is in order. And he says, you ate a red light. I said, excuse me? I said, there was 4 cars in front of me. How could I have just eaten a red light? He said, well, that's what I wrote you a ticket for. So when you say go to commissioners, I went to a commissioner. I went to his commanding officer and the sergeant and the lieutenant. And the good old boy club backed him up. And I ended up having to go to court and pay a $180 ticket for him. For something I didn't do. My car was searched, and I was made to sit in the cold that day while he took his sweet time writing the ticket. And yeah, you know what? As a black female, I felt violated because I didn't do nothing wrong, and he had wasted my time.
I think if we took the time to go around the room, I think we all could probably point out situations where we had less than favorable interactions with law enforcement. I just want to first say this. Lady D, I personally appreciate your service. I personally appreciate the service of all officers. I don't necessarily trust them, and that's unfortunate for me because my negative experiences with them go back to my first experience with them when I was 16 years old, which I'll share that story at another time. But that's just me personally. Now, I understand that they're necessary. I also understand that, like you, there are many, many, many good officers, just like there are many, many, many good black and Latino people in those neighborhoods. And what I don't like to see happening is those people's time being violated because of the few, because I've also seen statistics that show that, going back to the bobbing for apples example, just because you stop and you frisk someone doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to turn into an arrest, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to turn into a legal weapon, doesn't even mean that it's going to turn into any kind of wrongdoing. So now you just inconvenience somebody, and that person that you've inconvenienced is now feeling some kind of way about your department. And I think that is kind of the essence of someone like me who's a good citizen is feeling. And I would guess that's how the people in the community that you're patrolling, they probably feel that way. Now, like I said, we're not getting into numbers and statistics. I'm sure if you took the time, you can throw out some. But my question is, when you do these stops and frisks, you personally, your fellow officers, do you find that the vast majority are people who were innocent of all wrongdoing and you basically let them just walk away?
I'm sorry, the last part, can you repeat that when I said?
Yes. Yeah. When you do the stop and frisk, do you find that the vast majority of the people that you end up stopping and frisk, and like I said, I know you may not have numbers. Just give it to me off of your personal feel. Do you find that most of these people are clean, or do you find that most of these people are dirty?
You know what? Most of them have criminal past.
Well, I'm not talking about past. I'm talking about at that moment. At that moment, are they clean or are they dirty?
Clean, for the most part, clean.
Okay, so if most of them are clean, and I understand the part about it, and I'm not trying to attack you, I'm just trying to get to the point that if most of them are clean, is it really, really worth violating your community and profiling your community? And I know we'll disagree on whether it's profiling or not, but is it really worth violating people who are innocent of all wrongdoing just so that you can catch a couple of knuckleheads?
No, you know what we do is we take their names, go back and we run them. And a lot of times these people are known to have carried guns, or known to be raped, or known to carry drugs, sell drugs. A lot of these people are not people like Marcus, no record whatsoever. It's not like that. We know, usually, not all the time, but we usually know people that we're stopping. I can tell you, just throw a name out there, Tashawn, get the Tashawn. I'm going to stop Tashawn. I don't know if Tashawn carrying a gun today or not, but I see a bowl to Tashawn. We're going to check Tashawn out.
I mean, I guess I understand the logic with it. It's one of those things that...
But that's only in that area I work in. If you're talking about Williamsburg, Brooklyn, it's a whole different world, a whole different community. When you're dealing with the Jewish community, when you're dealing with the Dominic Spence community, it's all different, and it's different approaches.
I mean, I guess, again, is one of those things that we have to agree to disagree on. I appreciate your candor and coming on and actually, sharing your experiences with us. Do you want to have you want to take the final word on just, why you're a proponent of this before we wrap up the segment?
So I just want to, the young lady that was speaking, I just want to let her know that I also got stopped by North. I was working in North and got hit with a speeding ticket also before I became before I became a cop. And my whole attitude was, I can't beat them, I'm going to join them. I'm going to make a change, I'm going to make a difference. And let you know, long and behold, I beat that cop in court. He never showed up. I told him, bring your paperwork. Make sure you bring your paperwork and prove that you had a speed or whatever it might have been to show that I was speeding. He never came to court. I won. A lot of times we don't fight. We don't fight in court. We don't fight for our rights. We just let things go and we don't say anything. So, if you feel you're being violated by anyone, police, schools, whatever it may be, fight.
His commanding officer was really nasty on the phone when I spoke to him. I wrote a letter. A letter because he was actually not a Newark cop, but a Rutgers cop. And from what I I'm sorry?
Commander officer. Everybody reports to somebody in my eyes. Everybody reports to somebody.
And I took it as high.
For IAB, for Jersey City Police.
That's
I was violated. They didn't even know I was a cop, and it was none of their business, But the fact of the matter that you guys gave me a ticket, you had no right to do it. I went to the IA. I made a complaint. I filed a complaint.
I did as well, and IA covered him up, and when I said, well, you know what, I'm going to go to court and fight it, the commanding officer was really nasty, and he's like, oh, I'm going to make sure he has the day off just to be in court for your case, and da-da-da-da. And, at the time, with the type of job that I had, I couldn't just drop what I was doing, to get there like that. I went on and I paid it because I didn't want the hassle.
Right.
But the bottom line is, I felt offended when he had me roll my windows down and it was below freezing outside, and he sticks his whole head in my car.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said before,
and you know what? Because he got away with that, he's out there doing it again.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying?
You know what? I saw that same cop the following week pull a young lady over driving. I think she was driving like a Jeep Liberty. She had 4 babies in the car, all under the age of 6. And he had her open all her windows with her small children in the car. So you're absolutely right. But you know something? When the people who are at the top condone this behavior and cover it up, and IA covers it up, where do you start at that point? Where do you start? It's all political, and it's all full of it's the bureaucracy of it.
You at the top. You understand what I'm saying? We're not there. We're not there to take care of our own. So, I mean, how are we supposed to, how are things supposed to be fair?
Well, it's one of those things.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I tell a lot of young people, you got to join a department. You got to become that sergeant, that lieutenant, a chief. There's a lot of black officers who are dependent on us.
I tell you what, after that happened, I got a Newark shield and a PBA card. And once I put that shield in my window, I never had another problem after that.
You know what?
It's a boys' club. I'm not going to deny it. It's a boys' club, but the same thing that goes on within the police department goes on in the schools.
Yep. It's a club.
Corporate America, everywhere.
It's one of those things where, like I said before, if we took the time to go around the room, we would definitely. I've been pulled over by Richmond PD. I've been pulled over by Jersey City PD. And every single time I was left with nothing but a ticket or a warning, and a warning for nothing. Because I'm clean. And it's, to be quite honest, it's a pain in the ass. It just is. Tip jar me. It's my show. It's a pain in the ass. And I think that's the essence of what, folks are saying. And Lady D, we know that you experience it as well. And that's why we felt that it was good to have one of the good ones on to actually give a fair analysis and a fair assessment of what the policy is. And, and also, to be honest with you, it's an opportunity for us to just kind of share thoughts, share, feelings. If anybody's listening and they want to kind of comment on the Facebook page, feel free. We'll keep the discussion going. We got Hakeem, who listens to us every single week, who looked up the statistics for us, and he says 6% of the New York City stop and frisk lead to an arrest, and 3% are found with weapons. That sounds pretty low to me, but that's consistent with what your gut feeling told you. So
it's low, but in the same token, it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's to save a life. There's too many guns in New York, and no, we don't get them all. You know, out of 100 people we stop, we may get 3. But to me, personally, it's worth it because we saved one life.
Well, we're gonna leave it there. We'll agree to disagree without being disagreeable.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. I want to thank Lady D of the NYPD for coming on the show tonight. We're gonna go ahead and take our final break of the night. When we come back, we're gonna get into our rants. We're gonna get into our closings. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Be back in a minute.